You've alluded to this multiple times, but I want to formally define grounding now. And to introduce the topic, I'm going to quote a verse from the poem Among School Children by William Butler Yeats, who had said that, "O chestnut tree, great rooted blossomer, are you the leaf, the blossom, or the bowl? O body swayed to music, or brightening glance, how can we know the dancer from the dance?" So let's talk about grounding. What is grounding? What are grounding principles? And how do they help us separate the dancer from the dance?
Right. So grounding is this relation of relative fundamentality that holds between the source and the outcome. Maybe it would help if I gave a good representative example, and this will also help with the grounding principles and maybe knowing the dancer from the dance.
Yeah.
So one of the classic examples, which comes from Kit Fine's work, Kit Fine is one of the sort of first, he's really the sort of first person in the grounding literature. He's the prime mover of the grounding literature. One of Fine's examples comes from set theory.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the idea, well, we have this individual, this person, Socrates, and we also have this set, singleton Socrates, the set whose one and only member is the individual Socrates.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this natural idea, if you think about the way set theory is usually conceived of, where you can think of set theory in terms of this machine, where at any given stage, you have a bunch of entities in your hand. Yeah. You spit those entities in the machine, and that machine takes in all the different pluralities of entities that you've fed into the machine, and it pops out sets that have all and only the elements of that plurality as its members. Yeah. So you pop Socrates into the machine, and singleton Socrates pops out the other side of the machine. That's a sort of nice image of how the set theoretic machinery is working. And that makes it feel compelling, I think, to say that Socrates is the more fundamental of those entities. If you look out in reality and you see, oh, look, there's singleton Socrates. You come to believe in set theory. So you say, oh, singleton Socrates is an entity that is in my ontology that I believe in. And you ask, how and why did singleton Socrates get into the world? Yeah. Here's a great answer to that explanatory question, which is Socrates was in the world. Never mind how Socrates, there's questions about how Socrates got into the world. We'll start there. Okay. Socrates is in the world. And we have this machine, the set formation machine, that takes Socrates in and spits out singleton Socrates. And now I think you have a completely unmysterious, satisfying account. That's why singleton Socrates is there, because you have Socrates and you have a machine that transforms Socrates into singleton Socrates. So grounding is the relationship between the more fundamental entity, in this case Socrates, and the less fundamental outcome, in this case singleton Socrates. Many people would want to do this in terms of facts. So they would want to say the fact that Socrates exists and the fact that singleton Socrates exists. I'm doing it in terms of things. That's a bit of a controversy, just to flag that for those in the know. But there's widespread agreement that there's some crucial asymmetry between Socrates, or the fact that Socrates exists on the one hand, and singleton Socrates, or the fact that singleton Socrates exists on the other. And the asymmetry is that this one's more fundamental, the fact Socrates or the fact that Socrates exists. And singleton Socrates, or the fact that, I'll just stick with the entities, so I won't do the facts anymore. That singleton Socrates is a derivative outcome that you get from having the more fundamental ground, Socrates, together with this grounding principle, set formation, that's telling you how it is that it's kind of giving you a kind of metaphysical dynamics. It's telling you how, if you've got Socrates, that's going to flow into getting singleton Socrates.
And bring this back to Quine. So how you're differentiating this list of things that exist. Now you're creating like this tripartite structure where you have inputs on the left, the outcome or the effects on the right, and you have these causal links or these grounding principles in the middle. So you're showing a hierarchy of what's actually fundamental. How does what's derivated out of it emerge from what's fundamental?
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's meant to be the same kind of structure that you might think of the physicist as seeking. You might think of, here's a natural view, I think, of the physicist's task. Her task is to posit a set of initial conditions and a dynamics that can causally explain the entire rest of history. So I'm thinking of the metaphysician as having the analogous explanatory task. Posit a set of now not initial conditions, but fundamental conditions.
Yeah.
And now not a set of sort of temporal dynamics, but a kind of grounding dynamics of how the less fundamental entities spill out from the more fundamental entities, such that we can explain all of derivative reality from the fundamental basis.